Hello everybody, welcome Little Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel and drop a like. Trying to hit 40k subs, so that subscription would be much appreciated. If you would like to join in on these Discord hot takes videos, then you will have to join the Patreon. I think the lowest tier membership is like $3 a month. You get access to the Cord with a bunch of people who just love talking ball, and you could have your take featured in these videos. But without further ado, let's get into these hot takes. From Joe, I don't know if I'm just unusually high on him, but I legit think Khalil Ware could be top 10, maybe even a top 5 player in the NBA one day if he reaches his full potential. He has all the right tools. He's a good rebounder, defender, can finish, shoot, and is an agile big body. I think he could be special, could easily be the best player from his class. I don't know that we can say that he can shoot yet. Like, there's been signs, but I really don't think signs are quite enough to go on at this current moment. Let me actually look at what he is shooting so far this year. Obviously, it's extremely limited sample size, but I believe that he shot just over 30% in his rookie year. Yeah, 31.5, and through 3 games, he is shooting 60%, which is 3 for 5. So yeah, a remarkably small sample. If he can shoot the 3, I'm with you there, but unfortunately, he's also not a good free throw shooter, which is kind of indicative of not being a great shooter typically. So, like, if that aspect of his game does not develop properly, then I do think that kind of caps that ceiling to him just being like a way better version of Derek Lively. But like, I mean, his numbers this year per 36 are 19 points, 13 rebounds. He doesn't get a crazy amount of blocks for as good of a rim protector as I think he is. I don't know. I like Ware a lot. Top 10 though. Top 5 definitely is really pushing it. Top 10 maybe I could. The Heat are pretty good at developing players, so that potential, if it exists in there, will probably be unlocked. But I don't think we can say quite yet that he can shoot. Maybe though, maybe. Move the 3-point line back, or 3-point line up a tad bit more back, and eliminate corner threes. I like the 3-point shot being something you really have to earn. Still not easy to shoot threes, but I get where you're coming from. The corner threes thing, that really completely fundamentally changes NBA offense. And I'm not one of these people who has beef with teams shooting threes, so I'm not going to align with you on that one. I was told to do this. I would trade away any of the Warriors title runs if it meant that Seattle Supersonics could come back into existence. Well, if you were told to do it, it's not your take now, is it? The NBA won't release a 100-point game footage because if there's one thing the NBA hates, it's the Knicks losing. Is that true? Is there really that much evidence that the league rigged shit for the Knicks? I don't think there is. And if the league does have a vested interest in the Knicks being good and is like tries to manipulate the results for the Knicks to be good, that's frankly embarrassing for the New York Knicks that it has taken so long for them to even be a playoff team under said circumstances. I don't know about that. I think they won't release the footage because there isn't footage. That would be why. SGA has already surpassed Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook as the greatest OKC Thunder player of all time. That is an interesting one. I'd have to ask OKC fans. I do feel like Russell Westbrook, just on the merit of having way more time in a Thunder jersey, works out for him to where he's still over Shea, but like, I think it's undeniable that Shea will eclipse him if he has not already, and I'm okay with saying he's over Kevin Durant, not as strictly just a player, not strictly ability, but rather like what that player means to the franchise. Fortunately, Kevin Durant means a lot of bad things to that franchise now. Still a lot of good things that we shouldn't pretend don't exist. However, not exactly well loved there anymore. From Conscious Feeling, if the Cavs had Herb Jones, they'd be my championship favorites, even over anyone in the West. That's how high I am on Herb. If I was Cleveland, I'd be calling every day from here to the deadline. I'd be annoying as hell trying to make that deal happen. Yeah, I feel like that should be a thing across. The Pelicans have had a weird start thus far, so we'll have to see how they're healthy and all that. Yeah, Herb really fixes their number one issue, which is perimeter defense. You can throw Herb on the best perimeter player in the league, regardless of what position. Like, he can guard guards, he can guard forwards. Like, that would be a pretty remarkable fit. From Reeves' Strongest Soldier, this is ironic given the game that Reeves had the other day, but Jimmy is the worst free throw merchant ever. Since 2015, he has the highest free throw percentage rate out of anyone in the league, and last year nearly 60% of his buckets were from the free throw line. He is a gigantic grifter who barely gets contact but twerks into free points worse than any guy like Harden or Embiid ever did. See, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. The term free throw merchant has a lot of layers and depth because for most people, some people, they say it's not a discrediting thing, but other people, it very clearly is. Like, my issue with the free throw merchant label is it implies that like a player like SGA is just simply the beneficiary of a whistle and not a good player otherwise. And that's the way that people talk about him. That is the energy that is implied. I'm not saying that is a universally what people say when they say that. But just like in terms of like what percentage of your scoring is coming from free throws, there is nobody who does it more than Jimmy. However, I don't really think he's that big of a grifter. I think he just throws himself at the rim over and over and over again, which is one way to do it. Like, he definitely sells contact because you don't get that many free throws without selling your contact. But I can't necessarily say that he's definitely not worse than Harden or Embiid. Like, not even close. To me, Harden and Embiid are easily the biggest culprits of foul baiting in the most annoying way possible. Interesting. From Alchemist Toast, KD will play more years than LeBron and overtake him as the prime example of longevity. This is completely off of vibes, but while LeBron is focused on his legacy, KD is focused on the love of the game and seems like he'd play till he's 50 health-wise. Yeah, I do think that is possible. I don't know. I don't know. Because I don't feel like Kevin Durant is going to decline too dramatically in the short term. 3-4 seasons from now, I still think he can be at bare minimum a 20-point per game scorer. The thing is that LeBron put up fucking 30 points per game at like 38 years old. Like, I think he's only averaged 33 times, and one of them was in 2022 when he was 37, which I think is about the age that Kevin Durant is now, and then he averaged 29 the year after that, as well as 7 assists, 8 rebounds. I don't know, but it's also not impossible. I understand where you're coming from. I think maybe the reason why LeBron would still get the more credit for the longevity is just because he's a better player all time. So like, LeBron at his best at 39 is still better than Kevin Durant at his best at 39. But I also don't know that it's by some super wide margin. From Zion, Wemby ends the season as the best player in the league, wins MVP and DPOY. Jokic is close second, but around 60-40 consensus of Wemby being the best. This is definitely just an early season overreaction, and fucking great game from Jokic last night as I'm recording this, because he had a triple-double on like 100% true shooting. But I honestly don't feel like Jokic is going to be that prevalent in this year's MVP race. I don't have a lot of reasoning other than he's won 3 and the vibes of it all, but I don't know. From Briscoe, the Worm is the best NBA nickname of all time. No, it's Magic. I don't think it's even a competition. If your nickname has replaced your actual name to the point where a lot of people don't even know Magic Johnson's name is Irvin, at that point, yeah, that's a GG. That's the greatest nickname of all time, and it's not close. From Pete the Weapon, it's so funny hearing NBA players say stuff like, I'd cut my hand off for a championship, when they have zero interest in ever taking a pay cut for the good of the team. It's fine. I'm not questioning the character of these players, but don't tell me you dunk your balls in lava for that sweet ring when you're not even willing to make the obvious sacrifice. I think I might be misattributing this, but I think Anthony Edwards said that. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. My thing with that, regardless of hypocrisy for not taking pay cuts or whatever, so you're going to end your NBA career after one championship? That's your plan? Like, Anthony Edwards is going to play until he is what is he, 20? Let's just say the Timberwolves win the championship next year. Is Anthony Edwards cutting off? Obviously he's fucking not, but just for this hypothetical that's stupid, they win the championship next year, he's 25, and he's like, all right, that's enough basketball for me. Because spoiler alert, if he cuts off his hand, he's not going to be a good NBA player anymore. Like, he can do what he wants, he can try, it's not going to happen though. So yeah, that's just the weird part of it to me. And yeah, don't take a supermax contract. That will help your team win a championship a lot easier. It's easier to say that than actually be confident that the front office will use that to your advantage, especially if you're a smaller market like Minnesota. But at the end of the day, like, this is true. We don't need you to cut your hand off. Maybe just make $35 million a year instead of 60, but whatever. From Slam Dunkin' Donuts, Zion should not be blamed for his weight issues. If I was in New Orleans with that much money, I'd be fat as fuck too. Well, the thing is, the money part of this equation is a big part of the reason why this shouldn't be an issue, because he has access to as many resources as you could possibly have for weight loss. So, funny take that I'm sure is not serious, but I have to disagree. The Mavs, from W, the Mavs need to fire Jason Kidd. Cooper Flagg shouldn't be playing the point guard the same way Giannis shouldn't have played point guard when Kidd coached him. He has no other offensive strategy other than trying to force players to play the way he did, and I think it needs to stop. I mean, I don't know that you can say he has no other strategy. He's been coaching for years and years, and he's done this 2 times. And I don't know if D'Lo started, but I know he's been playing like nearly 30 minutes a game for his last 2 games, and coincidentally, they beat the Raptors, and they were really close, really competitive with the Thunder. Obviously, the Thunder minus J-Dub, but still. Crazy what happens when you play an actual fucking point guard. But I don't know that this is fire-worthy. And also, I don't really think it's fair to Jason Kidd that he signed up to coach this team with Luka Doncic just for them to trade him like this, and now it's like, oh, you're not adapting to this personnel like that. Fuck that. That's just unfair, I think. Another Pete the Weapon take: if Tim Duncan was a center and Steph Curry is a shooting guard, they would be in the top 3 at those positions at the bare minimum. The people who try to change that position they have always played are trying to avoid a conversation they dislike for another conversation they dislike even more. Well, I mean, yeah, Curry is over Dwayne Wade and Iverson and James Harden, whoever you have as the 3rd best shooting guard of all time. It's Dwayne Wade, but whatever. Tim Duncan as a center, I don't think Tim Duncan is top 3 at that position, like at the bare minimum guaranteed. In my personal ranking, he would be. However, there are plenty of people who have Kareem, Shaq, Wilt, Russell, and Hakeem over him. Like, the center position is just really fucking stacked, more so than the power forward position is all time. So, no, Tim Duncan would not automatically be a top 3 center without question to people. Like, absolutely not. Austin Reeves will be an all-star this year. I mean, shit, he's working his way there, that's for sure. From D'Lo's side piece, the heave rule this season, end of quarter long distance field goals counting only for the team, not the player, is the most underrated rule change of the year. Overall, any rule that incentivizes playing instead of dribbling out the clock while also protecting players' earnings from nonsense deductions will be a plus. It's already making room for exciting plays like Jamal Murray's half-court Euro step buzzer beater at the end of the first game against Phoenix, with more sure to come. I actually don't think I saw that play. If the league can build on this idea by somehow incentivizing last plays and blowouts the way the in-season tournament does with point differential, we might finally cut out the laziness and non-clutch minutes. I don't think it's a good idea for the league to incentivize running up the score during regular season games. Like, I'm fine with that for the tournament. I don't think that should be the approach during regular season games. If this was like the regular season was 40 games, maybe I can get behind that, but there's too many games, so there needs to be laziness and non-clutch time. Like, there just has to be. There needs to be starters being pulled. There needs to be more inexperienced players being played. Like, that's just a necessary part of the game for surviving an 82 game regular season. From Briscoe, NBA fans and stans lionize David Stern in a way that they were absolutely believe he would have done nothing like Adam Silver. I hate to break it to those stands, but Stern would have been just as happy to take those billions of dollars from sports gambling deals. Yeah. Some people talk about David Stern like he only strictly had the interest of basketball in mind, but like, the dude was a shark. The guy was still a ruthless businessman, hardcore capitalist, which is the job. That is what the job is. My beef with Adam Silver is that I do think he let it grow. I think he let it get to a point where I do think that just advertisement in general, like, there was still plenty of opportunity to slap an ad on fucking everything back in the 90s, but they were still reserved enough about it. But also at the same time, I do think there is a cultural shift there. Like, I do think that the idea of selling out is barely even mentioned these days, where you got flack for being a sellout all the time in the 90s and even early 2000s. Like, I remember the culture of YouTube at the time being like anti-taking sponsors in the video, and it really took the adpocalypse happening for people to like kind of become okay with YouTubers taking sponsorships. But the it's all about a bag, don't look at my money, fuck what, don't worry about what I'm doing, like all of that shit, that type of energy has become very, very pervasive in the last decade, and I think it has made the stuff that Adam Silver has done more permissible. So I don't know how much David Stern would have factored that in. I do think it was just such a thing that would get you so much more pushback then versus now. But at the same time, there's social media now, so there is access to more voices. But at the same time, I feel like it works in reverse, where there are so many voices that it just turns into noise and it's not even worth. So yeah, I don't know. But David Stern was no saint, was no perfect basketball god, you know what I mean? From Nico Harrison, I'm sure, Victor Wembanyama will be the second unanimous MVP. I think this year there's just gonna be too much competition. I don't even know who the fuck was the second best player in 2016. Like LeBron or Kevin Durant, probably one of those two. Wasn't really close, like at all. Like there was no one else who came close to having a case. And like, I do think if 2016 Steph happened this year, he wouldn't be the unanimous MVP, just because there's more competition for the award this year than there was then. Also, I don't think the Spurs are going to win 73 games. That also made it pretty fucking difficult not to give him the unanimous MVP. So yeah, I don't know that the team success will be good enough for the unanimous MVP, and I also think the competition is too good. From G, no one can convince me that if Chris Middleton doesn't get hurt in 2022, the Bucks don't win that championship. They went to Game 7 with the Eastern Conference champs without him, and they were a nightmare matchup of the 2022 Warriors. The Warriors were famously a small team going up against a massive Bucks. They didn't have a 7-footer, and they would have to guard the still good Brook Lopez and Giannis. Just a little bit of butchering here at the end, or I just can't read. Plus, I know no one stopped Steph, but if you had to bet on anyone in the league to slow him down, it was 2022 Drew Holiday. Plus, they would have had home court advantage. Giannis probably averages 37 on 60% shooting in the series, and the Bucks win in 5, maybe 6. Yeah, I can agree that would have been a bad matchup for the Warriors. I don't think you are taking into account that the Warriors would dice up Brook Lopez. Like, oh my God, the way that Brook Lopez just absolutely would die going up against the Warriors system. Can you imagine him trying to play the perimeter against that team, like, at all? Like, I can't go with you there, because like in 2021, Brook Lopez had to have his minutes reduced drastically in the finals because Chris Paul and Devin Booker, but especially Chris Paul, were forcing switches on him and cooking him every single time. Same shit would have happened versus the Warriors, and Brook would not have played that much, so I do think that negates the size advantage. Also, like, you're going to end up playing Giannis at center more, and Giannis at center, Draymond Green can play pretty good defense against Giannis. The Warriors also are known for being really good at the help defense and like making it not just about a one-on-one matchup. So I'm going to have to disagree with you that it would be as easy as you are implying. I do think I would take a fully healthy Bucks team back from the previous year over that Warriors team, but I'm not as confident that it's as conclusive as you are. Ron Holland will win Most Improved Player by 2028. That's a hell of a window. All right. From Cade Cunninghamster, the gap between Amen and Asar isn't as big as people think and is mostly because of the opportunity on each team respectively. With Asar getting more time as a secondary playmaker recently, the gap between the two could close to being nearly unnoticeable as soon as the end of the year. I don't know. I think Amen has more shooting touch. That is the key thing. Because neither of them can shoot jump shots, don't get me wrong, but Amen has like a really nasty float game that works for him very consistently, and it is that shooting touch that I think gives him ultimately the more potential. But I would say otherwise they are pretty comparable players. It is just I think Amen has been more liberated by the Rockets, not just because of the role, but also I do think the primary playmaker on the Rockets was Fred VanVleet, which, as good as Fred VanVleet is, he's a role player, and he's not Cade Cunningham, who is a very, not a very, but definitely a pretty damn heliocentric player. So there just has been less ball handling opportunities for Asar. So yeah, I don't think it's as big as people think, but I'm not willing to say that it's like going to be nearly unnoticeable. But maybe, young players with potential, especially with the kind of potential the Thompson twins have, it's really hard to make that projection. From the free throw / foul baiting discourse is encroaching the Jokic and Embiid 2023 MVP race war territory. It's people legitimately upset about SGA Thunder games and how unwatchable it is and how much it's killing the sport. It makes me sad how much people are just so ignorant to it all. I think part of the reason SGA hasn't clicked with casuals is because his growth was never broadcasted. With Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, and many others, there was at least a year where the media and casuals alike said they could be a problem in a few years. There was never that romanticism with Shea. He was good in 23 before the Thunder were good, but no one really cared. The Thunder burst on the scene and didn't even get a chance to be NBA darlings. This take is all over the place, but yeah, I don't know that it's quite comparable to the Embiid-Jokic thing. And I'll say to this day, as much as I dislike Kendrick Perkins, there was not zero validity to his take. I just don't think he is anywhere near the best messenger for such a take. But as for the Thunder, like, the thing is, if you were in the know, if you were like a hardcore NBA fan, you were not surprised by the Thunder last year. I projected going into that year that the Thunder would be the title favorites when the playoffs started, like even over the Celtics. I don't know that I quite picked the Thunder to win before the year, but I sure as shit was like, yeah, this should be pretty clearly the Thunder as the favorites this year by the time the playoffs come around. And yeah, that's exactly what it was. So like, if you were paying attention to the less broadcasted stuff by the national media, then it was not that much of a surprise. But for other people who are more casually minded, who are not watching the NBA religiously like I do because it's my literal job, it was more of like a blindsided thing. And like, I understand the complaints with the consistency of the fouling, because while I don't think Shea is bullshitting, I can agree to the notion that Lou Dort gets away with a lot more contact than your average defender in the NBA because of his defensive reputation. But that is an issue that has existed in the NBA for a long time. That is not Lou Dort exclusive. It is just a pretty brutal contrast when Lou is doing that and then Shea is getting to the line pretty much at will. But the number one thing that bothers me about it is that it just takes away credit. You say a guy is a foul baiter, you are saying, whether you intend to or not, for most people what that shit means is that they're a fraud. is that they're a scammer, they're a grifter, they're not actually good, they're just playing the ref game or whatever. And it's like, if this has been a meta within the sport for a very long time now, your beef is with the rules, not the player. But people seem to find it impossible to make that differentiation. That's not a fucking word. To notice the difference there. That's really important. It doesn't exist. People do not notice that difference. They just get their fucking panties in a bunch. It's fucking annoying. I really can't stand it. Actually, there is a video that will be out on Rusty Buckets today that is about that and all of the people freaking out about Austin Reeves versus the Kings. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.